Now we are discussing about web browser architecture. We have already discussed about web server. www, World Wide Web. With the internet, we are taking a computer. We want to share the information in the computer to the other computer. Example, we are calling one device as a client and second device as server. If we are using the www, if we are using the FTP, if we are using the any other way, in order to transfer the email, it will become the email client, it is email server. In order to transfer the file using FTP protocol, this is FTP client, this is FTP server. Now we are discussing about this client is requesting for a web page. Example, we are browsing www.google.com. Where we are typing this one in a browser. Which browser? You may use Internet Explorer, which is now recent version is Microsoft Edge, or you may use Google Chrome, or you may use Opera in your mobile, or you may use Mozilla Firefox. These are the different types of the browsers. In this browser you are typing www.google.com. www means World Wide Web. Now when you are typing www.google.com in the browser, here this is a client computer. When we are typing this one, this web browser is a program. Whether that is a Mozilla Firefox, whether that is a Google Chrome browser, whether that is a Opera browser, or whether that is a Internet Explorer browser. Any browser is a program. So this program, by using this program, we are trying to access a web page from the server. For that we are sending a request. How we are sending this request? By using the internet. Because we are using the internet, we are using transmission control protocol. The information we are sending in the form of the packets. Because this is a TCP. So request is sent to the server. We already discussed server is nothing but where we have a group of web pages stored. Group of web pages are stored in this server. In this server, we are accessing a particular web page. With this request, the server will respond. This will search for web page. If the web page is there, this server will respond and it will send the web page. When it is searching the web page, if the web page is not found, means it will show page does not exist. So here it will send the web page data to the client computer. After sending that, it will close the TCP connection. It will wait for the another request. Means another time you may give some www.sbdet.com, anything. Now here, browser, how it is being useful, web browser. Web browser is very much useful for us for the display of the documents or for the display of the text or display of any data. You see, in the browser we are using so many softwares that are mandatory. Some softwares are optional. We are using some softwares mandatory and we are using some softwares that are optional. Some softwares which are mandatory are HTTP client program and HTTP interpreter. In this browser architecture you can see, here this is HTTP client. This is mandatory to us. And this is HTML interpreter. This is also mandatory. In this entire diagram, these two are compulsory to us and the remaining are optional to us. These two softwares are mandatory and the remaining are optional. So now here there is a controller. This controller manages the all softwares. By using this controller, which is acting like a CPU, for a normal computer how the CPU is acting like a brain, for this computer, for this browser architecture, this controller is acting like a CPU. This URL, whatever we have typed, example www.google.com, this URL the user is typing, where he is typing in the web browser. After he types that URL, by using the HTTP protocol, this will be automatically, it will be redirected as HTTP. You will observe HTTP www.google.com by using the hypertext transfer protocol. Now here, this URL after typing, the browser will take care and it will try to add the hypertext transfer protocol, because the hypertext transfer protocol only responsible for taking this web page information to the client. Now after typing this URL, we are checking for the address of that URL. What is the address of this www.google.com? For that we are going for the domain name system. In this domain name system, we have a website, and for that website, we have the address, IP address. We are taking that IP address and we are fetching that web page from the server. Here from the server, we are trying to find that IP address, and after trying the IP address, we are fetching that particular page from the server. Now, in order to, you see here, we are using HTTP client program. Why we are using the HTTP client program? This HTTP client program, it is controlling the HTTP to fetch the page from the server. If you want to fetch the page from the server without the HTTP, it is not possible. You may establish the connection between the client and server because you are using TCP, but you might not be able to fetch the required web page from this server. To fetch the required web page from the server, HTTP is relevant, HTTP is important to us. TCP is useful until going to this point, but to enter into the server, to get the required web page, we definitely need HTTP. So that's how we are using the HTTP client program, and it is responsible to fetch the web page from the server. And here after the web page is received, we have received the web page. After receiving the web page, that is not in the user language. That is in which language? HTML. So this HTML language web page should be interpreted by the user. For that we are using HTML interpreter. That's why these two are very much important to us. Why HTTP client program is important to us? Because after the establishing the TCP connection, particularly we have to get the web page from this, and finally when we are receiving the web page at the user end, we should be able to interpret what we have received. Okay, the web page we have received and we are seeing that HTML formatted version. This is a rough architecture of the web browser. Here in the network interface, we will store the IP address. For storing that, we will use the network interface card. We are once again just briefly recapping what we have discussed. Here is a client. Here is a server. We have requested for the web page by using the TCP connection. By the usage of HTTP, we have gone into the server and we retrieved that web page if the web page exists, And finally, after receiving the web page, we are interpreting that HTML web page as in the user's language. This is what we are doing in the web browser architecture.